Welcome to Seize the Mains Daily Answer Writing Initiative by Malhotra's IAS Academy. I'm Surbhi Sirdana and I'm taking this lecture discussion for mains preparation for civil services examination of UPSC and state public services. If you are new to this initiative, I recommend that you download the schedule, the timetable that we follow from the link in the description below. It is there till May 3rd. So, starting with today's lecture discussion, it's day 32 of Seize the Mains and our topic for today is from GS paper 4. It revolves around attitude. So, questions from this area are very simple in nature. Either UPSC will ask you that what are the things that frame a good attitude, or why a positive attitude is needed in civil services, or what are the components of attitude. So you can expect very direct, very simple questions around for 150 words, 10 marks questions from this area. So don't worry about this section. We are taking a very simple question which has been asked by UPSC in the mains examination in the past. Let's see what is the question. But before I display that, keep a pen and a paper handy and pause the video as I display the question and note down your points that how should you address this question, and then move on to watch the video further. So the question is, a positive attitude is considered to be an essential characteristic of a civil servant who is often required to function under extreme stress. What contributes towards a positive attitude in person? So the thing is that whatever are the answers available for this question, they revolve around what contributes towards a positive attitude in a civil servant. But you have to understand that this is not the question. The first statement of the question does talk about the benefits of a positive attitude in a civil services, in civil servants. But the actual question is that what contributes towards a positive attitude in a person, in a general person, and not in a civil servant. So this is your question. The second part is your question, which is a very general one. It is not with regard to civil services, but the first statement, because it is given in the question, we'll elaborate on that also in brief with our introduction itself. We'll prescribe a separate paragraph to it, and we'll define it in detail there and then, and then we'll move on to address this part, the second part of the question. Since it is in 150 words, so don't use full sentences, give headings, give like flowcharts and headings, and don't use full sentences, just give some keywords for every heading, or just write down in points or paragraphs, small paragraphs, if you think that it is the best approach for you. So moving on to writing an introduction, first of all we'll define what is attitude, what is the role of attitude in civil services. So let's see, what is attitude basically? A perception that somebody has regarding something or some person or some place, that is called attitude. So attitude is someone's opinion or feeling about something as shown by their behavior. So this is a very simple, this is the simplest dictionary definition of attitude. So it can be defined as a learned tendency to evaluate things in a certain way. Why have we included this sentence? Because this is a learned tendency. It is not something that's given by birth. That is not something that is there in some person by birth. It is learned, and how it is learned, what are the factors that contribute towards attitude formation, that is what we have to discuss in this question. So this can include evaluations of people, issues, objects or events, like attitude towards people, objects or events. It can be positive, negative or mixed, ambivalent personality. So talking about the positive attitude and what are its roles in civil services, what is its importance? Attitude has a great role to play in our daily lives also. Like for example, you're preparing for civil services, there must be some people who will have a negative attitude towards your preparation or towards public service itself. That is a negative attitude. They might say to you that you're wasting your time, or this is not something worth it, or it might not turn out to be in your favor. So that's a negative attitude, but that's not a negative attitude of an entire personality. That is a negative attitude towards public services and public services preparation, the competitive exam. While you, on the other hand, since you are sitting and preparing, you have a positive attitude towards working hard to get into public services or public services in general. So that is the basic difference where we can elaborate how positive and negative attitudes can function. The linkage point here is that talking about what is the role of positive attitude in civil services. To do anything successfully and positively, to feel happy while doing something. You need to have a positive attitude towards it, irrespective of the results that you get. And civil services is one such arena that sometimes the positive results do not seem to come, or whatever the efforts that you are putting do not seem to bear fruits for you. So that is where the role of positive attitude comes in, especially because civil servants operate under a lot of stress. There is a lot of workload, there is a lot of political pressure and public pressure. So let's read out what is written here. Civil servants with a positive attitude remain constructive, optimistic and confident. So whatever they do, they are very confident. They do not judge themselves or their actions. They show improvement and progress with no possibility of lack of conviction. They acknowledge the broader civil service priorities, ensure their actions and efforts are in the national interest, and are committed to the fundamental principles of democracy. They set and serve as a benchmark. And then we use examples of such, such civil servants with positive attitude in our ethics answers. So hence, a positive attitude is needed by them in both their personal and professional areas of operation. So here, because the word limit is very low, this is very much a general explanation of why positive attitude is needed in civil services. You can also add example here. For example, like positive attitude is needed in personal and professional life. So you can add an example that somebody who's positive about the roles of different people in his family will also respect women at workplaces, or different kinds of people working at different levels in the workplace also. That is about positive attitude. You can give any such example from your ethics notes or from the daily life or your experiences that you have seen in this first paragraph itself. That makes the answer more interactive, and interactive answers get more marks in the paper. So make your answers interactive. Here comes the linkage point. Now what is this linkage point? This is the linkage point that will address the second part of the question, that is, how is attitude developed? What contributes towards a positive attitude in person? So now we have addressed the first part, we have given introduction and we have given the first linkage point that was around revolving around civil servants. Now we will talk about the second part of this answer, and moving the direction towards the second part of the answer, simply we will write the following broad factors contribute towards a positive attitude in person, and draw a simple diagram like this. This diagram does not have the broad points that we have discussed here, but draw a simple diagram like this and then proceed on to elaborate on your points. The first one is family and community. That is your first school of life. Family that you have, or extended family or your community in which you grow up in. The second one is your culture, your broad culture. That is from traditions, religion, the social community that you are in, the social institutions that you have to adhere to, being born in a certain kind of religion. The third is your educational institutions. A child spends so much of time in his school and then in the college, university levels. So educational institutions, the kind of teachers that he sees or meets in his life, play a great role in developing, in forming a positive or negative attitude. The fourth one is workplaces. Again, more than 1/3 of your day, if you are a working professional, more than 1/3 of your day, and sometimes even half of your day could be spent in workplaces, and the people you work under or work around, they influence your attitude a lot, and your attitudes also influence them, but also the aim and motive of the company, of the organization that you are working for, that determines the attitude of its employees in the long run. In the short run, it might not affect you or affect any employees, but in the long run, it does determine the attitude. So self-initiative and experiences. If somebody wants to develop hobbies, focuses on self-improvement, on being a better human being, this is something which is not very prevalent, or this is not something that is very much seen, because this is intangible. And most societies of the world do not value the intangible values or the intangibles in life, because globally we are working under a capitalistic order, so intangibles are not valued as much as they should be. The fifth one is media. We'll see this in detail, how does media frame your attitude. And seventh one is social groups. Social groups will be included in educational institutions, workplace, family, culture, etc. They will be covered here, but if you think that there is something you want to add from your side, you can give this heading or give the heading of miscellaneous. And also, if there is something else that comes to your mind, you don't have to go back to textbooks, that reading the notes of under attitude section and determining and trying to understand that what is the new point that you can add your points also, because ethics paper is not about learning from books. Ethics paper is about developing your personality and expressing your personality in the exam. So make sure that you do that. Make full use of this paper, of this GS4, to express yourself and to enhance your personality before interview comes in, because ethics and interview go hand in hand. If you are doing good in ethics, there are high chances that you will get a good score in interview also. So now we'll elaborate all of these points in detail, starting from the first one, family and community, family and culture. So family is the first school of social conditioning. How it is. For example, if there is a household where just it's the female members of the household who do all the work, and there is no respect given by the male members of that family towards the household work that is done by the women of the family. So what will the children inculcate? The children will inculcate patriarchal values or values of discrimination. When they go out in the society, they'll not respect women for the work that they do. So one thing is that. Second is that if a family has servants coming in for cleaning and cooking and things like that, if the female members of the family who stay back home in the day when these servants are coming, if they respect the servants for their work, if they treat them like human beings, they value their human rights also, they treat them as members of the family, they treat them with respect and love and regard and care for their needs also, their needs of paid leaves, their needs of whenever they need leaves in case of health issues. So if things like that are happening in a family, the children will inculcate such values and they'll respect human rights of all people. They'll have habits of an attitude of love, a positive attitude towards all occupations in the society. So this is how family plays a great role. In fact, many children of different religions go to the same schools. So when children come back home, they talk to their parents about what was going on in school and what kind of child that I met there from a separate religion or a community. If the parents inculcate values of brotherhood and tolerance and secularism in the children will behave in that certain way, and they'll grow up to be friendly and society friendly individuals. They'll have equal respect for all religions in the society. So that is how family plays an important role in deciding the attitude that people have towards certain religions, certain kind of people, classes of people, towards genders and things like that. So moving on to the second part, that is your culture. So your culture is, here we are talking about the traditional culture. We are not talking about the contemporary culture that we have. Culture is your traditions, the stories, the customs that you have, the epics that are read in your household, the religious books that are followed, the festivals that are celebrated. How accommodating these are, or are they depriving somebody of their rights, or are they discriminating against somebody? So culture plays a great role in developing values of sharing, respect and tolerance. Moving on to the next points. Educational institutions. Educational institutions also have similar roles like family and culture have to play, but there is one more thing, that our education is mostly merit based, and we have many gifted people, gifted in terms of sports or humanities or creative arts. So if a school or a particular educational institute just only values academic merit and sidelines the children who are not good in academics but good in some other arena of life, so that decreases the confidence level in most of the kids, because academic excellence can be achieved only by 5 to 10 students in a class, and the rest have to be at a lower rung on that ladder of excellence. So if all talents of all types of individuals are respected, all types of individuals, introverts, extroverts, are given similar opportunities to present themselves in their full truth, full self. So that will develop like very positive attitudes of children towards life as a whole. Otherwise, what we produce is demotivated and self-doubting individuals under the educational systems that we have. And similarly, there are so many of us who can remember a teacher from the past who motivated us, or on the other hand, a teacher from the past who spanked us or showed his anger towards us without any fault of ours. So there are such examples, and educational institutions and especially teachers working there have a great role to play in how the attitude of a society or a person is framed. So educational institutions determine the motivation level through teachers, work ethics, confidence, appreciation of different parts of self, whether a particular school appreciates only academic excellence in its students or other gifts too, sports, arts, etc. Ability to express, giving enough opportunities to extroverts and introverts alike. So the next is media. Now media has a very very apparent role to play. What happens is that if you go to some very popular news channels, if they want to portray a person or a situation in a negative light, just try to focus on the kind of music that they are playing from behind, or the kind of words that they are using. If they want to portray someone in a negative light, they either raise their voice, the journalists raise their voice, or they raise the voice of the background music, or play a very emotional tune in the background, a very emotional music in the background. So what does that show? That affects our emotions. Music does affect our emotions. The level of sounds, the way I'm teaching, if I start talking very very slowly so that you cannot even listen, you lose interest in what am I speaking. But when somebody speaks very loudly, so that it is not just audible to you but it penetrates your ears and your mind, you will definitely listen to it, and after a certain period of time, after a certain point of time, you'll start agreeing to what the other person is saying. So that's how media, especially journalism, plays a great role. Secondly, how different parts of society, how different people are portrayed in the media. For example, how women are portrayed, how elders are portrayed in kinds of the daily soaps they are playing, or the OTT series that are being displayed, or the movies. So how women are portrayed, how elders are portrayed, how men are portrayed, as strong and bold, and their emotional side is not even given respect to, or such men are not even considered worthy of something good in life. So that hero image of men and that feminine image, the perfect beauty standards of women that we have, and that intergenerational chaos that happens in family, that is being portrayed in a negative light, that some kind of people are always positive and the other kinds are always negative. So that plays a great role in framing our personalities, in framing our thinking systems, and hence in framing our long-term attitudes towards life, not just life, towards people. And that is how unknowingly or knowingly we react towards different situations or different kinds of people in our lives. So media, it provides out of institution education. This is a very important line here. And awareness. The way news is presented determines emotions of people towards a certain issue and hence frames their attitude in the long run. So how relationships, women and elders are portrayed, example skin show in famous shows, reduces women to objects, displaying intergenerational feuds, dominance creates chaotic households. So this is a separate thing here, it's a semicolon here. So moving on to next point, your workplaces. As I already said that more than 1/3 or sometimes even half of the day is spent in workplaces, and these are people which you are spending time with are not related to you by blood, they are not related to you by any form of kinship in the society, but you have to work with them, you have to function with them all day, and they do not come from the same family backgrounds or same kind of social backgrounds that it becomes very constant kind of a situation or constant kind of a state. You have all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds, and you have to settle and adjust with all kinds of people at your workplaces. So whatever the people you are working with, they do frame your attitude. Secondly, the aim of the organization that you're working for. We see so many people working at very good packages, earning lots of money, but they're not happy with the kind of work they're doing. They're not fulfilled with what they're doing. That's affecting their physical health, mental health, and things like that are creeping in the society, and it's been long since they have been there, and now they're being talked about. So what is the reason for it? Because organizations which might offer good salary packages might not be in tune with your purpose of life, that might not give you a job that gives you a satisfaction. So if you're working for such organizations for the long run, After a certain period of time, you start to equate life with prosperity and other things take a backseat. So the aim of the organization that you're working for, the people you are working with, they determine your attitude towards life. So be careful about your career choices. But here we are just, you know, dealing with future civil servants, aspirants here, and that's a very good career choice. The next point is self-initiative and experience. Experiences do frame you, and experience does not come with age. Life gives you experiences at different ages. And self-initiative, what you learn from an experience, especially after a failure, after a rejection, or after, you know, you've had a very negative situation in your life. What is the path of life that you take? Do you try to learn from it, or do you try to, you know, copy it and hurt somebody else? So that is about self-initiative. And even if that negative experience is not there, do you evaluate, do you assess how your day passed, how your week passed, and do you work for, you know, self-improvement? Do you introspect? Do you sit back and introspect? Do you develop hobbies to make yourself happy, or you just go out and be a part of the consumerist culture and try to extract happiness from other people, or things like that, alcohol, and, you know, n number of things? So what is the kind of self-initiative that you are taking, and are you learning from your experiences? So that forms, see, these points, they're not found in any books. These are just you know, self-written from our team, and they're from the from our side. And ethics is writing about your points. These are very well, these can be understood very well, and your examples can be added to such points. Add your points also from your side. Nothing is wrong in ethics. We're just here to teach you what is relevant and what is less relevant or not relevant in ethics. So just follow that approach, learn the formula, what formula has to be taken, and feel free about using your contents, your thoughts, your viewpoints, whatever you feel good, whatever you feel right in your ethics answers. So have that confidence. The other part is social groups, the choice of friends, peer groups, things like that. Again, I'm saying that social groups can be covered in your workplace, in your family, in your educational institutions also. But here social groups is also about choice, that what kind of friends you choose to hang out with, what kind of peer group you develop, and what is your motivation behind staying in a particular peer group or in a particular friend circle. So that determines your attitude, and that is also a test of your attitude. So concluding by saying, you know, you've addressed most part of the questions. Now conclusion is just, in ethics answer, there is no way forward that is needed here. We can just say that a positive attitude is necessary to lead a good life. Here is a quote by John Michel, that he says that our attitude towards life determines life's attitude towards us. So it is a very positive quote on a physical and a spiritual level, mostly on a spiritual level. So you can choose to write your own quotes. There is another quote by Thomas Jefferson here, that nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal. Nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude. So when it comes to essay and ethics, the people who are checking your answers are like kind of aged or in their middle ages. So giving a philosophical conclusion or you know, a philosophical quote does add weight to your answer. It does portray that this person is a learned person, because by that time, by that age, like by the age that the examiner has reached, he or she has understood many like philosophies of life, and such people do appreciate if you give a philosophical ending to your answer. In your essays also, whatever the essays, if you go through the essay paper, there are so many philosophical topics asked, because such people want to check that how much is your understanding of life. They're not just playing with you, giving you tough philosophical topics in your essay paper. They want to check your understanding of life, what are the experiences, and do you have like this second last point, have you developed this self-initiative? Do you have that habit of learning from life and self-introspecting and developing hobbies and learning from different parts of life and experience? So they want to test that, and that comes only in philosophical essays. So that is topic for another day. But here use philosophical quotes if possible and justify them. Don't just, you know, write them, but also justify them with some example, or just end your answer with them. So developing the right attitude in life is one of the indispensable ingredients for excelling in professional life and growing one's personality to the maximum extent. And this is the quote by Thomas Jefferson that we read already. 150 words are complete. Make sure that whatever the keywords we've given you here, whatever the headings that we had here, the 7 headings that we discussed, elaborate it in your words. How these points, how does family, culture, educational institutions, how have they played role in your life and developed your attitude? So write them as general examples in your answer and send your answers to us in the next 24 hours. Ethics papers, they are very special. Ethics answers are very special to us because they reflect your personal part of the personality. So we eagerly wait for your answers. Write them right now. Answer writing does not take a lot of time. There is not a lot of research required in ethics. So just go back home, write your answers, send them to us, and all the best. Have faith in yourself.